Aries, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to the Unseen Hands Collective. This is going to be your February shift reading. We're looking at the shape you're shifting out of this month, the shape you're shifting into, and what that shape shift looks and feels like. So Aries, the image that's coming to me for you this month is a cup that is filled to the brim with water. And at first I was really excited because I was like, ooh, okay, filled to the brim with love, maybe with emotional energy, like maybe that's Ace of Cups energy, which could be like a new, fresh emotional experience that feels, like your heart feels really full, it feels really good. But then it sort of felt like the water in the cup was swirling a bit in a way that was making me actually quite nauseated. And I was like, wait a second, I'm filled to the brim with love. Why do I feel a little bit sick? Like why am I feeling dizzy or uneasy here? Interesting. And that image is translating so literally into your cards that honestly, when they came out in the way they have with so much cups energy, I was pretty astounded, and it actually clarified the image for me really beautifully. So we're using the Slow Holler Tarot here, and I'm going to show you your shape shift for February. You're shifting out of Page of Cups energy and into the Ace of Stones. Immediately, here's that emotional cups energy shifting into a more grounded earth energy. That's really a trajectory throughout a lot of the fire signs, but specifically for you, Aries, it's almost like you're trying to take these ocean waves, which could be seen as quite choppy and up and down and difficult to navigate. Maybe even, the dizzy nausea I felt could even be like seasickness on the tossing waves, and trying to bring that water energy down to earth in a way that slows the flow and brings a more even, balanced flow to some sort of emotional situation, or maybe your relationships, because here's what your shapeshift looks and feels like. More cups energy, the Three of Cups, the Knight of Cups, which in this deck is the Traveler of Vessels, and then the Six of Pentacles. Okay, so here's how I'm seeing this. All this cups energy really feels to me like your relationships. Cups talk about emotions, they talk about intuition. I'm really feeling more emotional energy with these three cards today. And it's coming through as like different ways that relationships make you feel, and the different ways that maybe many types of relationships make you feel in your life. Like what relationships and dynamics you're currently engaged with feel like these rough emotional waters. And I'm really noticing, also drawn to the way this heart stands on its own in this clear jar in a way that actually feels really raw. Maybe a lot of raw emotion, maybe a lot of like constantly sort of pulling your heart out of your chest kind of energy. But either way, whether it's like this raw vulnerability that actually feels a little bit too exposed, or whether it's like just like emotions sort of ripping your heart out of your chest. I know these are really dramatic words that I'm using, and I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like maybe there's a lot of emotional volatility in some of your relationships that make you feel really exposed in a way that maybe there's a lack of safety or support there, because I'm just noticing the way this heart is sort of on its own, out there on its own. In like a clear jar for everybody to see sort of energy. But again, it's really about the choppy, dizzying, seasick waters of this emotional, maybe relational energy, versus the Three of Cups, which feels totally different to me. These waters feel much calmer comparatively. And the Three of Cups can whereas the Page and the Knight in traditional readings of cards can signify more romantic type connections. They don't have to. And interestingly, both of these cards are showing big ocean waves, which is, again, sort of those rocky seas. The Three of Cups is more like friendships, communal relationships, or just multiple close relationships rather than a hyper focus or like a one-on-one focus type intimacy. This seems to be intimacy that has a little bit more room to be distributed among more people, that can spread out a little bit. And as a result of that, the waters here are much calmer, much more manageable. There's a feeling of mutual support, which feels really, really strong in some of your connections, maybe. Or maybe like this is the kind of emotional experience that you're really hoping for or moving towards. So I think these two different representations of what relationships do or can feel like in your life is trying to point something out to you about what your heart needs to feel safe. And it seems to me like it needs something a little bit more grounded and balanced. And so this Knight of Cups seems to be lifting up out of the intense emotional waters of the Page of Cups, wanting to go up into the air, to move through the air, to get a higher vantage point, a higher perspective. It almost feels like they've taken their heart and they're taking it somewhere out of the water, out of these saturated seas, and somewhere more grounded. You know, it's like, okay, let's take this relationship, or let's take parts of this relationship that feel good and bring them to a more grounded, balanced, secure place. And then here we see that in the Six of Stones. You know, the sixes are about, this six in particular is about balance. It's about reciprocity, equal energetic exchanges. But the way this is showing up here, you know, this feeling of being like filled to the brim feels like feeling oversaturated or almost like completely submerged in water. Whereas the Three of Cups is like, these three cups are pushing through the water and are up in the air. The Knight of Cups is moving up into the air in order to be able to move. Knights are about movement. So there's something about like pulling up and out of total submersion and saturation in the waters, in the emotional qualities of these relationships that don't feel, the emotional qualities that don't sit right with you. It's like pulling up and out of that to get a little clarity in the open air. And specifically the Six of Stones feels like that to me. There's lots of spaces in between these stones, which is like room for air to move. There's room to breathe. And yet it's creating this shape, this circle, a structure. There is structure here, but it's like balanced structure that has, again, just like this sort of peace and calm. Don't mind the pup. So that, you know, this flower over here, maybe that's you, Aries, can kind of go off and grow on its own. It's that kind of freedom and that kind of grounded, balanced security that lets you grow however you need to grow without like overwhelming you with water energy or oversaturating you with emotional energy in relationships in particular, maybe. And we're even seeing that playing out in the same way with this Ace of Stones. Half in, half out, you know, because it's like once you get a little bit of space and a little bit more balance in your connections or in your emotional, whatever this is talking about for you, then maybe you can re-enter the water here in a more grounded energy like the Ace of Stones. And you can submerge as much, as deep as you want to go in ways that feel safe for you. And there's something interesting happening here where this looks like this stone is porous. It looks like a sponge, which would continue this idea of feeling totally saturated. It's like Aries, you know, there's something happening in your connections maybe where, you know, you typically Aries is a really open energy, like down for anything. Yeah, sure, let's dive into this. Let's go, let's party, let's be together. And so maybe there's something where like you go hard in relationships and then before you know it, you're oversaturated, you know, emotionally. And there's a need to kind of pull up and out of that for the sake of yourself. Because this tulip over here feels very much you, independent, like needing to get back to yourself, needing to look at your relationships and say, okay, how, you know, in all of the different relationships in my life, how am I being reflected in these relationships? Do I see myself here? This, whatever this Three of Cups is in your life, feels like yes. I see myself with these folks. I can see myself clearly reflected in them. The emotional qualities feel very balanced. It feels like, you know, seeing this as the sun, you can shine in this way. There's a question about relationships that are a bit more rocky emotionally, if you can clearly see yourself there. Okay, so when the collective and I'm only one person in this collective. There's an astrologer, Kevin. Kelsey creates these guidebooks for you all each month. Okay, so this is only 1/3 of your shift energy for February. So if you go to unseenhandscollective.com, you can access the other 2/3 of your shift. But as we're talking through your energy and the cards, Aries, there's something coming through about mirroring. And if you look at the zodiac, Kevin and Kelsey pointed out to me that your mirror opposite on the zodiac is Libra. Libra is concerned about relationships. Libra asks, you know, who am I in relationship to others, and how do others show me who I am? And Aries, on the polar end of that, I think what this is saying is you need your relationships to show you an accurate reflection of yourself. And I think that feels like your relationships reflecting your ideology or reflecting how you feel back to you in ways that feel balanced and equal and reciprocal. And Kelsey pointed out that in these rougher seas, it could be very difficult to use that emotional water energy as an accurate reflection. Whereas once the water becomes more still, you can see yourself much more clearly. So I think there's something to that. I have a feeling once we get into the extended reading, a lot more is going to come out about that. But this is trying to get you to a more grounded, less saturated emotional experience. More balanced space. Okay, Aries, so we are going to take this into an extended now. I'm going to keep pulling cards and see if we can get some clarity on the cards that are coming through and go deeper. If you'd like to view that extended reading, unseenhandscollective.com. The link is in the description box below, and that will take you over where you can purchase the extended in the shop. You can join our monthly memberships to receive the materials there. And like I said, this is only 1/3 of your reading, so you'll be able to access Kevin's astrology scope podcast to link the planets into your February energy, as well as Kelsey's guidebook to help you more personally process everything that comes through in the cards, everything that comes through in the astroscope. All right, Aries, thanks for being here this February. Take care. Almost like the Six of Stones is the kind of energy you're longing for in relationship that says like, we're here, we, again, this idea of community. I mean, we could be talking about like family living situations, you know? Or again, like a close friend group. There's a need to be like, okay, to have the kind of support systems that say, we're here when you need us and you're free to go. Come and go as you please. This will be here. This solid, dependable, balanced, reciprocal structure will be here
Okay, and I'm saying that because we have 5 planets in Aquarius, which is your 11th house, okay, which is your house of vision. How do you envision the future? That is quite literally Aquarian energy, vision for the future. But Aquarian energy is multifaceted, just like every other zodiac sign and all the planets that rule them. There's many ways that energy can express. It's your vision for the future, but it's also holding that vision for the future with others. It's about groups and collectives and friends and people that share your vision.